Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.
Film church.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
The Baxters over there, the Rojos over there, and me, right in the middle.
Hello, and welcome to Film Church Radio, the podcast that treats cinema as a religion. It's Sunday. I'm Branden.
And I'm Lewis.
And we are here to talk about movies. This is the second episode in a special series of episodes. We are going through the filmography of Sergio Leone. Normally each week, Lewis and I alternate picking a film for each of us to watch, and we don't reveal what the movie is until the end of the episode. But for the next 6 weeks now, we are going to be talking about Sergio Leone's filmography, going through each of his films. Last week we watched The Colossus of Rhodes, which was his first directorial debut, and this week we are watching Fistful of Dollars, starring Clint Eastwood in his first leading role. This is also the first film in Sergio Leone's Dollars trilogy. So we are super excited to get into it. Last week, like I said, we watched Colossus of Rhodes, which neither of us had seen, but we both were pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the expectations weren't the highest going in, but we both had a good time.
So be sure to go back and listen to that episode and follow along with us on this Leone journey.
That's right.
As always, we'd like to thank everyone who's been listening to the show and sending their love for the podcast. If you're new to the show and you're enjoying, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell on your podcast app so you get notified when we post new episodes. This is a film church, so we post episodes on Sundays. And if you really, really enjoy the show, be sure to share it with your friends and your family and let people know that we exist and we're starting this film church. You can also find us on social media at Film Church Radio on basically all the social media apps. Leave us a comment, send us a message, tell us what you think about the show, if you love it, hate it, if it's blasphemous. We'd love to hear from you. As always, before we discuss the film, we're going to talk about what we've been watching this week. And Lewis, what's up, dude?
How are you?
I'm good, man.
Good. I'm excited to talk to you about this film.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I'm a little exhausted this week from moving.
I bet.
Got through it.
That's good. Yeah, it was a busy week. Probably not helped by the fact that I was like, hey, let's go to the cinema.
Actually, well, I mean, yes and no, but like, I was just thinking, like, we, if it wasn't for this film church that we've started here, this is like one of those weeks where I wouldn't have watched any films.
Yeah.
But because of you and this film church, I watched 2 films.
That's great. Good.
Because you hit me up and you're like, hey, let's go see this movie. I guess that was like on Tuesday, and then I had to watch Fistful of Dollars. It's not that I didn't want to watch Fistful of Dollars. It's that, like, when you're really busy, making the time to watch a film it's difficult to justify.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, it's part of my religion now, so I have to.
That's right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm just very thankful for Film Church this week.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, so in terms of what I've been watching this week, it's definitely revolved around A Fistful of Dollars.
Yeah.
That was, obviously, I watched that, and then I went back and I read that it had been based on a Kurosawa film that I hadn't seen. So I watched Jimbo, which it's based on, and then I watched the sequel to that, Sanjuro. Watched those this week. Which I'm sure we'll get into later on in the show.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't realize. I mean, I had seen Fistful of Dollars before. This episode, but years ago, but I didn't realize that it was based on a Kurosawa film. So
Yeah.
I'm really interested to what, how it is and what you say about it, because it's a film I haven't seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get into it.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm sure. And then I showed, because I know that a few weeks ago we talked about Studio Ghibli films and kind of the fact I'd never seen one.
Yeah.
So the other day yesterday I decided to put one on for me and my daughter. But I think I definitely 100% chose the wrong one. It was like one of the ones that just kind of, it came up on HBO Max. And I was like, yeah, we'll watch this. It's like an hour and a half, kind of just middle of the afternoon thing. And we watched Earwig and the Witch. Didn't look anything up about it. And as we're going through, I was like, I don't get it. I don't get why this studio is so loved, like from this one film,
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I finished it and I put my rating in Letterboxd that I was like, oh, everybody hates this film. Like,
you just picked the wrong one.
Yeah, it just wasn't a good representation from the reviews that I read of, what Studio Ghibli is and kind of what they put out.
Yeah.
So willing to give it another try for sure, but that is not high up on my list. And then obviously, this was the Blu-ray week release of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yes.
So we watched that again last night.
Did you get the Best Buy, like, what's it called?
The Steel Book.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't think of the word steel. I was like, the Silver Book?
Oh my gosh. No, they put the pre-sale up so early. It was like months and months ago. So it just sold out.
So it just sold out.
Even on release day, they had none to sell, which was very frustrating. So we just got the, I think it's the Target 4K with the art cards, which it didn't really matter. We would have just got it from anywhere, but
I was looking at that one too. I just haven't had, like, I did the same thing you did. I was like looking around for different copies, and the Best Buy one was just sold out everywhere.
Yeah. And
I still haven't got a copy yet, so probably going to Walmart.
Nice. Yeah, the Walmart one's good. I like that. I like the cover.
The cover's not bad, yeah.
Yeah. And it's just one of those films that when you rewatch it at home, it just reminds you of being in the cinema when you first saw it.
Yeah, exactly.
You remember when people are cheering and the applause and stuff.
I think we even said that on our episode where we had just seen the film. For the listeners listening, if you want to go back and listen to our Spider-Man No Way Home special, it was like the weekend that it came out. So Lewis and I had both seen it, and it was just kind of our first reactions. But yeah, I think we even said in that episode that every time we watch this movie, we're going to be thinking about those cheers.
Yeah.
Watching it.
It's still funny. It's still, still holds up. Yeah. Can't wait to see what they're going to do next.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch some of that behind the scenes stuff too.
Yeah. Yeah. I said to Chelsea, Marvel are just so good at not just kind of whetting your appetite.
Yeah.
Like after everyone finishes, you're like, I cannot wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, dude,
Multiverse of Madness coming next.
Oh my God. In less than a month. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
And then we went to the cinema to go and see Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yes.
I'd read and seen so much good stuff about this film prior. As soon as I saw it showing, I was like, Branden, we got to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things too, I've heard so many good things about this movie. It looked really good. And it came out, last weekend, I guess. And then you and I went on, the Tuesday after it came out, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, if it wasn't for you being like, hey, let's go see this now, which I'm glad we did. Cause getting some, we were in, the theater was pretty packed. So getting to watch this movie with a fresh audience with people who hadn't seen the movie yet either, was a really great experience. If we had waited a couple of weeks, I'm sure this is going to be kind of a sleeper hit. It already seems like it's a hit, but
yeah,
as far as it's not a Marvel film. So people weren't, not everyone went to go see it opening weekend. and you and I didn't go see it opening weekend, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
we did see it soon enough. At least there was a fresh audience, but there might still be a lot of, fresh audiences over the next several weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the word of mouth is really working wonders for this film,
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was a wild adventure.
yeah. Yeah, it's so good. So good. And like just weirdly funny and moving, and it is everything, within 2.5 hours. It's a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it felt like, when I came out of the movie, it felt like I had seen something that is kind of going to be the definitive movie of the next 20 years.
Yeah.
Like I think I said before, like when The Matrix came out, it was like everybody was trying to be The Matrix. For the next 20 years, they've been trying to be The Matrix. And nothing has ever been as good as that, in terms of trying to be that. And this film, it feels like everyone's going to be trying to copy it for the next 20 years, but none of it's going to be as good as this was.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think that, first and foremost, the representation is so good. The fact that we see, I was thinking about it as well, and the fact that the two main characters are, over 50 as well is really refreshing.
Yeah.
And like just a whole different, story. And the fact that it's an original story as well, I'm just, it deserves all the plaudits.
Yeah.
But no doubt will receive 0 Oscar nominations.
I don't. Yeah.
Next year.
Probably not. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens. But it does seem in the vein of like, okay, not to go on a little tangent here about the Oscars, but as far as Oscar humor goes, it seems like they're trying to be kind of the humor that this film actually was. Whereas like the Oscars misses the mark and this movie like hits it like dead center. So yeah, if you want to be, the Oscars that's celebrating, I don't know, just goofiness or like non-glamour or whatever you want to call it, then maybe, this is the kind of film they need to nominate. But it's still a great film. Like, I'm not saying that to say anything negative about the film, but, I don't know if that made any sense or not.
No, it did. I think that it will take a lot to shift this from like my top film of the year this year.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
I think especially new release, I think it was just, like I said, unique and just so enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm probably going to go see it again within the next week.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take some more people that haven't seen it and see what that experience is like again. It'll be interesting to see what, if it's still packed or how audiences are reacting to it. So that's the thing I miss a lot about working in a movie theater is just being able to firsthand see every day how a film is doing.
Yeah.
And even like months later, like the films that are always the most interesting are like months later, it'll all of a sudden be sold out and packed.
Yeah.
Full of people that haven't seen it yet. So it is like just word of mouth. But
yeah,
I feel like this might be one of those movies.
Fingers crossed. I hope so.
But that's everything, I guess, that we watched this week, other than Fistful of Dollars. So let's talk about A Fistful of Dollars. Yes. 1964. I feel like 1964 is like the year that we've not intentionally talked about the most on this podcast.
Yeah, there's been a lot.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But Fistful of Dollars, the IMDb summary is a wandering gunfighter plays two rival families against each other in a town torn apart by greed, pride, and revenge. What did you think of the movie?
So, having seen Jimbo first, it did dampen my view a little bit.
Okay.
A Fistful of Dollars.
Yeah.
I thought Clint was incredible. I
Yeah.
thought that, like, you can tell that he is a movie star.
Yeah.
I know we've said it before in the past about other people, but the way that, every line seemed iconic.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's just watching it from a perspective point of view or whether, it must have done at the time, right? Because it did kind of catapult him to stardom. But, he's just great in it. And it was a pretty faithful, remake, I guess, of Yojimbo.
Yeah.
But I felt like Yojimbo had a little bit more, I don't know, it was a little bit more interesting to me. There's a few little touches there, like slight areas where it changed that just kind of elevated it a little bit.
Yeah.
And you said you've seen A Fistful of Dollars before, right?
Yes. I mean, it's been years and I had forgotten most of it because I had seen, I guess probably the first Sergio Leone film that I ever saw was The Good and the Bad and the Ugly.
Yeah.
Then I went back and watched A Fistful of Dollars, but I remember not being that impressed with it the first time I saw it, and I think that's just because I, saw the third one first.
Yeah.
So, but going back and watching it this time, I did enjoy it a lot, and I haven't seen Yojimbo, but I did like this movie a lot. You could just tell how brilliant Leone is with the camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's because he's just like straight up copying Kurosawa or because he's just great,
Yeah.
It's hard to tell yet. But it seems like he definitely this is his wheelhouse. Like he was born to make these westerns.
Yeah.
Just the slow shots of like all the characters reacting, like the way that those shots are edited together. All the shots of like just the close-ups of people's faces, and then their eyes move, or they just they give you a look.
Yeah.
I love the way all that's cut together. The close-ups of people's feet, that kind of stuff. It seems very like almost like a cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I love. Like it's. I guess, yeah. I don't know. I feel like saying cartoon makes it sound a little bit like it's cheesy, but it doesn't feel cheesy to me when you're watching it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, Clint's really good. He's, this is his first leading role that he ever played. This is him. I think he was in Rawhide, the TV show, as a side character, and that's the only thing that people recognized him from. But even this, like, most Americans didn't see this movie until The Good and the Bad and the Ugly came out years later. And because The Good and the Bad and the Ugly was so popular, that one wasn't even supposed to have an American release either. But because it was so popular in Europe, they finally sent it over to America. And Clint didn't even do the dub, like his English dub, on his character's voice until like 1967.
Oh, wow.
And when they actually did the American release. So it's kind of interesting that, and this was done for like $200,000, like super cheap. Just like there's so many little like details that make this film so interesting, because it's like it's such a low budget film. Like Clint Eastwood in his first starring role. Like, this film could have just been nothing. Like, it could have just been lost, and nobody ever saw this film, and Clint never did anything else. But it's because of a few factors. It's because of, like, the creativity and camera work, the resourcefulness of the crew and Sergio Leone, the casting of Clint Eastwood, the costume design, like that iconic costume that they put together, which was apparently done by a few different people. Like Clint brought the jeans, like the black jeans, from some shop in Hollywood, and I think he brought the cigars. I forget where the hat came from. But I think Sergio Leone and the costume designer picked out the poncho from Spain, and his gun belt, I think, actually came from his character in Rawhide. And then like I was reading that he's on like this skinny horse just because Leone thought that was like funny.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, like, aesthetically, the fact that he rides into the town on a mule and not on like you know, a typical Western hero, you know, on this beautiful horse kind of thing. It says a lot about kind of the film that you're gonna get. I think it's a good example of a Western, but it's also not a Western, if you know what I mean. It's kind of every trope that you think about is kind of played with and like edited a little bit.
And also, like the film is supposed to be in Mexico, right? Like as far as the story takes place in Mexico, which would like if it's a brilliant way to do the film if you think about it, because it's like it's an Italian filmmaker shooting an American Western in Italy, and it's like, how are you going to do that? And he's like, well, it's going to take place in Mexico, and we're going to cast everyone in the cast is going to be Italians, but we're going to say that they're Mexicans. Yeah. So it's great. Yeah. And then, you know, we'll hire one American. And apparently he wanted to cast Henry Fonda, but that was like way out of their budget. Yeah. Like Clint Eastwood only got $15,000 for this.
That's insane. Insane.
So like, and then Clint Eastwood wasn't even a movie star yet.
Yeah.
And apparently like Sergio Leone like warmed up to him in the shoot, and joked that Clint Eastwood only had two expressions: with hat or without hat. And it just sounds like such a like lightning in a bottle moment.
Yeah. I mean, definitely after watching Colossus of Rhodes last week, this seems like more of a first film.
Yeah.
This is those hallmarks of kind of like, you know, we've talked about John Waters a lot, but like just kind of getting everything together and it just working, you know, against kind of all the odds. You know, when you were talking about the costume being put together, it reminded me of Chaplin. Like his whole tramp outfit was just pieces that he picked up from the prop department in the studio he was in. Like there wasn't necessarily like, you know, so much thought went into kind of creating the tramp. It was just what was there. Yeah. And this is the same kind of thing. And like every character looks iconic. Like the one that kind of got me the most was their right-hand man. Is it Chico? Like the big guy?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Like he looks like he looks like he's been reproduced so many times. As soon as he walked on, I was like, I know who this character is. Yeah. You know, with the kind of
the huge sombrero.
Yeah, the sombrero, the shells, I guess they are, like the ammo kind of slung around his shoulders.
Yeah.
You know, just the whole look.
Straight up Chewbacca.
Yeah, it was just like he just screams bad egg.
Yeah.
It's just like he's there to like kick some butt. Yeah. But yeah, it was I did enjoy, like I said, the aesthetic of it. I liked the fact that it was so dusty and dirty, and everybody looked like they hadn't showered in a month. Yeah. You know, and like that kind of,
and they probably hadn't.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at westerns, you know, if you think of John Wayne entering in Stagecoach, he looks like he's just stepped out of
his trailer.
Shower. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he looks clean, he looks presentable, whereas everyone here looks like they have, like I said, like they haven't showered for a week. Yeah, and that is kind of, it feels more authentic to me.
Yeah,
as
for
a Western, it feels very kind of real.
Yeah, what's interesting so far about Leone's career, you know, up to this moment is like he could have just made studio films, you know? Yeah. Like he really could have been that director. Like he very much could have been like a Hitchcock where like people just hired him to make really good studio big budget films and he made them really well under budget, you know, made them exciting. But it seems like he didn't want to do that. Like it seems like he he kind of struggled after Colossus of Rhodes came out of what he wanted to do next. And he was also like dealing with a lot of stuff in his personal life. Like his father passed away, I think in 1961. Don't quote me on that. It was like before he had really started making movies, I believe. And his father didn't want him to make movies because his father was also in the film industry. But you got to think about like the age gap there. Like his father was 50 years older than him.
Yeah.
And even for Sergio Leone, like his father took 10 years off of filmmaking when Sergio was a kid. So like his dad, like Sergio Leone knew that his dad like made movies, but like for the first 10 years of his childhood, like he never saw his dad working.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until he was like 12 that he started getting back into making some films and got on some film sets with his dad and stuff. But his dad was always like, yeah, I don't want you to make movies. And Leone actually went to law school for a little while and then was like, I don't want to do this. I want to make movies.
Yeah.
And his dad was like disappointed.
Oh,
And
wow.
then his dad passed away, and it was like his dad never saw him be the success that he was. And then his mother, you know, kind of did a little bit. Like I want to say she. I don't have the book in front of me. I've been reading it, but I think she died in the late 60s. But she also had like a lot of health issues and stuff, and they didn't have a great relationship, so it wasn't like, you know, good job, son, you're doing great or anything. Like he never had like those moments. But yeah, like you said, it feels like this is more of a first film, and I think that's because, you know, Colossus of Rhodes was like a studio project that he was hired to head up, and he did it well. You know, he handled a large crew well, but then it sounds like he didn't know what to do next or how to do it. And when he saw Yojimbo, it was like, it literally says in the book, he saw that movie and then he was just like, I'm going to make this into a Western, and then just obsessed over it and like got super excited about it and did it. And just planned the whole thing out. He just got that inspiration, that spark, and he just held on to it and pulled that movie through. And then it just snowballed. It was like it became really popular in Europe and made a lot of money. It made like $4 million, and they had only shot it for, you know, 200,000.
Yeah.
So, you know, obviously they were gonna like try to do another one, which I'm super excited to see the next film, because I haven't seen For a Few Dollars More. I've seen, you know, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, but I haven't seen the middle one. So
yeah, I'm excited to see like a different film, you know, like just kind of to see where the story goes when it's not based on something else, you know,
because it's not, I hope it's not based on Sanjuro.
I don't think it is. I did some reading up, and I don't think it is. I mean, but if it is, then I'm looking forward to The Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
I was reading a little bit on the description. I think it's about like two bounty hunters.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like Sanjuro.
Okay, cool.
But yeah, I think that's super interesting, and definitely the theme of like fatherhood. I think shows through in this film a lot. You know, I don't know the name of the character, unfortunately, but the guy that owns the bar that he kind of stays at.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Is it Esteban?
Silvanito?
Oh, is it Silvanito?
Yeah, the guy that owns the bar.
Yeah,
Silvanito.
Yeah, so
Esteban is like the guy that's like laughing all the time.
Okay. Yeah, so Silvanito, he's like, you know, the fact that he kind of takes him in and is the reason that he kind of comes back when he does at the end. You know, you can see that theme of an older patriarchal figure that's kind of, you know, that you're defending in a way.
Yeah.
Which maybe is why this story spoke to, because that is the same in Yojimbo. So maybe that's why, you know, it spoke to him so much. But I did read that you know, he didn't really enjoy the American Westerns. He thought they were like just not realistic, and you know, the Italians laughed at them because they were so poor. So he wanted to show like a real,
like something gritty.
Yeah. And I think, and he definitely achieved it. I mean,
yeah, this movie is really gritty. I mean, like
Yeah.
when there's a whole scene with Clint Eastwood getting beat up, like to the point of like death. Like he's just like, they just beat the hell out of him.
Yeah.
And then, you know, in most movies it would be like, you know, he just like gets up and he starts, you know, he brushes it off or he walks away. But he like from that moment, he cannot walk. He can like barely move, which adds a lot of tension because you're like, because he's like around the corner and all these guys are running back and you're like, oh crap, you know.
Yeah.
Some of those scenes, like when he crawls out of the barn and he goes around the corner just as they're like walking up, reminded me a lot of like Kill Bill when she's like crawling out of the hospital and her legs are like still paralyzed and she can't move. Which obviously like Quentin Tarantino has said lots of times that he thinks Sergio Leone is his most, like his biggest influence, I guess.
Yeah.
So you can see a lot of that stuff. And apparently a lot of there's a lot more violence that was cut out of the movie, like close-ups of people's bloody faces and stuff like that were cut out of certain versions of the movie, especially like TV versions and American versions and stuff. So yeah, that makes sense. Like it does feel pretty gritty, and it's interesting because like I said earlier, it almost feels, the style feels like a cartoon, but not in like a childish way.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, because it is more gritty.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think that the one difference that I don't want to keep going on about Yushin because I know that we're not really, we're talking about A Fistful of Dollars, but the one thing that kind of that elevates that a little bit was, so it is a story about a samurai, but the sharpshooter in this film, the one that kind of he ends the film dueling with, part of the Rojos, he in Kurosawa's version, like comes in late into the movie and he's the only one that's got a gun. Like he's discovered, he's found a gun.
Oh, okay.
So that's where that tension is like, it's kind of the, we talked about it in the Seven Samurai episode, the old versus the new is like, the sword versus the gun.
Yeah.
So I was really interested to see how they were going to do it in this one. They just they were like, okay, everyone's got guns, but he's just a better shot than everybody else.
Yeah.
So he's more skilled with the gun, which worked well. It was.
But he also gets like the bulletproof like vest thing too, right?
Exactly.
Is that kind of like the gun almost like in the last scene that you're talking about? Like as far as in terms of like building the tension or being like, I haven't seen Jimbo, so I don't know the comparison, but
yeah,
I mean he doesn't have like.
No, he doesn't get like a bulletproof vest and all that kind of stuff. He just moves really fast. It's kind of it's over before you know it.
Okay, cool.
The samurai wielding is he takes 6 people out, and you're like, oh my gosh, how did that happen?
Yeah, he's much more skilled. Like he's even though you have a gun and it's this futuristic weapon. Yeah, it's like he's got the skill of a samurai.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it still kind of takes him down and. That is where the kind of the tension comes from, because he's skilled. It from the first minute. It's the same with Clint. Is like he's a very skilled like gunman because he takes down 4 right at the beginning. Yeah. But then it's up to notch because it's like even if he is quicker, he's still going to get a bullet in the heart.
Right.
There's no coming back from that.
Right.
So.
Go ahead.
The changes that are made in this, I think, are done well.
Yeah. In terms of like just making it a Western and.
Yeah, exactly.
Does Jimbo feel like a Western? Like when you're watching
does.
It?
I mean, it's the same. It's kind of like a small town, built on just like a dust road, half against the other. Yeah. It's very. It does get. It is like ripe for being turned into a Western, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with most samurai films, right? It's the same kind of idea.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure they've influenced a lot of
Westerns.
kind of exactly.
Yep. Were there things that you noticed? Like I mentioned the Kill Bill thing, but were there things that you noticed from this film that obviously influenced other films?
From A Fistful of Dollars?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the loner is definitely a theme that we still see today.
Yeah, the man with no name.
Yeah, exactly. Just this guy that's kind of, he has no reason to get involved in this. Everyone's like, at the beginning, you should leave. And he's like, nah, I'm going to stick around and kind of, fight for you as just like the villager. They're not even, they've kind of accepted their lot in life. It's just, it's like, well, the coffin makers just makes coffins all day because we know that that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But he's like, I'm just going to take them all down so you can live in peace.
Yeah.
Again, he doesn't need to do that. And you can kind of, I think that it does a really good job of when you start to forget that side of him, he frees Marisol and her family. And you get reminded that, he's doing it for the imprisoned. He's not doing it for, fame or
for
fortune
the money
yeah, exactly. Because all the way through, he's just taking like hundreds of dollars from everybody. And then he just gives it to Marisol and he's like, get out of here. Like, you've got to go.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I do like that kind of that dynamic. It does a really good job of showing the character.
Yeah. What'd you think of the opening credits, the titles?
I thought they were great.
Yeah.
It was that kind of like we said before, it's like gritty, kind of on a budget, but still I can tell what they were going for. You know, I think
I feel like that
gunshots,
style just holds up so well.
Yeah, I think more gunshots rang out in those opening titles than most westerns.
Yeah.
It was just like gunshot after gunshot, and you knew what you were kind of getting in for.
Yeah.
It was going to be bloody. There's going to be a lot of people dying. But yeah, it worked well. And the music, I know that we've talked about that this is his first...
collaboration.
Yeah, that's the word. Collaboration with Is it Morricone?
Yeah. And Ennio Morricone, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, even that side, like everything about this film is just like, I can tell why it was successful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And Ennio Morricone, I mean, like he went on to have an incredible, influential career.
Yeah.
I mean, so many iconic scores.
Yeah, because there's a few times that I was like, is it going to break into that song that I really know? And it didn't. And I can just tell that it's coming.
Yeah,
as soon as you hear that music, it kind of, who this composer is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited to...
And I'm not even sure what all the instruments are, but yeah, it's already got like a whistling going on. And then there's other instruments that I can't recognize off the top of my head, but it's not like your typical, orchestra. It's like very different, but works so well.
Yeah, and there's like the words that keep like playing over, like we will win, I think it is. Like over the musical interludes.
Oh, is that what they're saying? We will win.
I think so. That's what it kept coming up to, because the subtitles, that's what it kept coming up with on the subtitles.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Yeah. My mom was like, are they saying something? Because I watched it with my parents last night. And she's like, are they saying something? I was like, I don't know. They might just be,
just
chanting some. Yeah. But she's like, are they saying he's so white? He's so white.
Changing into a blaxploitation film.
Yeah. Or a mexploitation film.
That's it. Oh my gosh. But yeah, the music is really good. And just, builds that atmosphere again from the beginning.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, man. I loved all that stuff. I love the this part is pretty cartoonish, probably the most cartoonish part. But whenever I think it is Chico and another guy, after they've beaten up Clint and they're going in to check on him, they're like looking around for him, and then he's like up on top of the rails and he rolls a giant barrel down. And
That
just the
randomly
way,
explodes.
yeah, that explodes, and then apparently was full of alcohol because then he lights it on fire
Yeah.
or something. Maybe I don't know, oil. But
Yeah.
yeah, I just love how this movie. I mean, it's funny that he wanted to make it more real because it's like there's certain moments like that are that they don't
Fantastical, yeah.
that are fantastical that they don't over explain. It's like there's even I think it's with Chico again earlier where he's like shooting at him and then he shoots the hinges off a window and it falls down and hits Chico in the head and it's like he's out. It's like so many moments where it's like, yeah, you just hit somebody and they're knocked out. You know, sleepy time.
Yeah. Like when he full on punches Marisol in the face.
Yeah. She just slowly is like, oh, time for bed.
Yeah. That came as a real shock.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay, he's just punched her in the face.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess it was just super popular with Italians. Like he knew what he was going for. He knew what he could do, and he knew. I mean, not that you can even know when you're making a film, but he had a sensibility for like what audiences would want in Italy at least, and then it ended up being popular in other places too, which is great.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I just love even the beginning where it starts off and it is like a fable. You know how when he walks into the bar, Silvanito. Oh gosh,
yeah, that's
it's
it.
like as soon as you enter the town, the coffee maker was sizing you up. And I love that line. I just thought that was, it's kind of just that setting the scene is done so well. And setting you up in that line kind of speaks volumes about what is going to happen. It is a life and death situation that he's going to put himself in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many moments like that in the first like 20 minutes of the movie, I feel like, that just set everything up so well to get you interested in the film. Yeah. You know, all the character development and setup is really great. Yeah, I love that stuff. And then the scene, and then I guess pretty soon after that, he's, he has that first duel with the 4 cowboys where he's like trying to get them to apologize to his mule.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that whole scene was great. Like just such great dialogue. Like I don't know, like is it kind of word for like is there a scene like that in Yojimbo?
It's pretty similar. So when he kind of first enters the town, they kind of the Baxters, the equivalent of, kind of surround him, and he walks back, and he goes to the other people and he's like, I'm gonna help you kill them. And then he goes back and kills like 3 of them, like pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it is the same kind of thing. I mean, in terms of like the main plot points, I don't think a lot has changed from either. It's just like, the little bits that are kind of tuned out just to make it fit more into this Western.
Yeah. Is the character kind of the same, or is Clint Eastwood, like, is Yojimbo, is that his name?
So he doesn't have a name. He does say at one point, I can't remember what he says. It's like 30-year-old something or other. Like that's what he calls it. It's just like a flower or something. Yeah. Or that might be the second one. But he has no name. It starts off and he's just walking down a dusty road. He throws like a stick up to show him which way to go. So he is kind of aimless. And then he kind of comes across this family and the young guy's like, I'm going to go and join them, to the parents. And he follows them. And it turns out he's joining one of the gangs. And he's like, I'm just going to stick around and help.
Okay.
So the opening was, a tad different. He doesn't just stroll into town. He's kind of like brought, he kind of gets dragged in a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's Toshiro Mifune from Seven Samurai. Mm-hmm. And he's like, on the Baxter's side, I think. In the other one, there's a guy that's huge. He must be close to 7 foot. And they kind of all surround him, and he's just walking around. And when he sees him, the look on his face just made me like, how it was so. He was just like, oh, okay, like you're a big one, you know. And he does play the character very similar, you know. He's very, but he's a little bit more like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess they are the same. Clint's a little bit more, you know, steely-eyed.
Yeah,
I guess like. Toshiro Mifune has a little bit more fun, I would say.
Yeah, well, him, like, I mean, just thinking about him in Seven Samurai, like, he's such a like lively, playful character.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Whereas Clint Eastwood is like, he's just there to be, you know, I mean, as Sergio Leone says, with hat or without hat.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know, he's just there to be like mysterious and hard and gritty.
I feel like he says hello, just like hello. Like 10 times in this movie. Like every time he meets someone new, he's like either hanging from a pole and he's just like, hello. which I found really funny. I'm not sure. I think it was meant to be, you know, humorous because he was always in a bit of a compromising position. But I thought that he did a really good job at, you know, he wasn't one note as much as I thought he would be.
Yeah.
You know, there's a little bit of acting skill on display. Yeah.
Apparently his trademark squint was caused by a combination of the sun and high wattage arc lamps on the set.
Again, just one of those things that you can't really plan for.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
just kind of happened and it became iconic. So.
Yeah, it's magic.
Yeah.
I was going to say also about Mifune and this movie, the character Esteban, he's one of the
Rojos.
Yeah, the Rojos. He is like constantly laughing in the background, and it just reminded me of like Mifune from Seven Samurai, which apparently this movie was also going to be called The Magnificent Stranger, which the Magnificent, you know, Seven is based off of Seven Samurai. And this movie, they were going to call this movie The Magnificent Stranger, but then they changed it like 3 days before it was released.
Oh wow!
So I
think A Fistful of Dollars is a better title.
Yeah, for sure.
I really like that title.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I don't know if it's Fistful of Dollars or A Fistful of Dollars. I mean, everywhere it reads A Fistful of Dollars, but on the movie it's just Fistful of Dollars.
Yeah, I think the A was added later.
Yeah.
Right. Because I think after a few dollars more.
Probably.
Or for a few dollars more. Yeah. But for me, it went a little bit at the end when he's kind of riding off. It was kind of full screen, and then as soon as he was riding off, it went like letterboxed for some reason.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure if that was just the film that I was if that was just the version that I was watching or not. But it was very noticeable because it kind of like lifts up and out, and he's riding out of the town, and it did just go like letterbox, which was really strange. I'm not sure whether that was something that was not added in, but you know, a creative choice, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Maybe a creative choice because the opening credits are all, it's like the orange, but it's like a sliver.
Yeah, like a letterbox. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. That could have been just to kind of bookend it. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I didn't notice that. What did you watch a Blu-ray or did you watch?
So I just rented it from you know, Amazon Prime or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's what I did.
So. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it was just. I assume that it was because it was a pretty good, like, copy. It wasn't, like shoddy or anything like that. So I'm sure it was the way that it was intended.
Yeah,
it was just a bit like, oh, that's a weird way to, to kind of change the aspect ratio in the last minute.
Yeah, I feel like it would be really interesting to watch this film, in the Italian version. With just like English subtitles, just to kind of see what the original complete version was.
Yeah.
Because the version we see now is like, dubbed American. Over in English and, all that.
Yeah.
Done years later. But, your boy Rory Calhoun was considered for the lead in this.
Oh my God, what a movie that would have been.
Just standing and walking.
That's right. Yeah.
He's perfect for the character.
I think, yeah, Clint does a really. I'm glad it's Clint.
Yeah.
He does.
Yeah.
It's good. I don't think. I mean, from what we saw, from the one instance that we saw Rory Calhoun, I don't think he's as enigmatic as Clint, you know.
And I don't think this movie would have been as big in America if it hadn't been him.
Yeah,
you know? Like
for sure.
It just works.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that it was Clint. Good old Clint.
So, do you have anything else about this movie?
I do wish that I had saved Jimbo to watch after.
Yeah.
Because with it so fresh in my mind, it was kind of, you know, and everyone knows Kurosawa is such a great director.
Yeah.
That it's hard to kind of separate the two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know.
Well, I'm excited to see what you think as we go because
me too.
I think you're going to be able to like separate that a little bit more and really.
Oh yeah.
Because you know, for those who didn't listen to the last episode, Lewis hasn't seen any Sergio Leone films until we started this series.
Mm-hmm.
So he's getting it all fresh. So I'm excited to see his reaction to like the height of Sergio Leone.
Yeah, and now I've seen like 27% of them. So
yeah,
time moves fast.
Yeah. So Lewis, what are we watching next week?
So this is going to come as a surprise, but we are carrying on with the Sergio Leone watch-a-thon, and we're going to watch For a Few Dollars More. Released 1965 in Italy, but released, I believe, the same year as this in America.
Sweet.
In 67. Clint Eastwood's in it again, carrying on the no-name kind of hero journey.
Yeah.
Very excited to see, especially with For a Fistful of Dollars doing well, you know, hopefully a little bit of a bigger budget.
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully a little bit more originality. I don't want to keep banging on about it, but, you know, I'm excited to see where this story is going to develop. If this is the basis, you know, I'm excited to see what's next.
Yeah, because basically from here, they've got basically just a really good character.
Yeah, exactly.
To do anything with now.
Yeah. So, do you want to guess what we each rated it on Letterboxd?
Yes, I forgot that we were going to do that. That's a new thing that we've been doing. I'm going to say that you rated it 3.5.
Okay. And I'm going to say that you rated it 4.5.
All right.
Okay. So I rated it 3. Which sounds very stingy. But personally, because of watching Jimbo first, I feel like I had more fun with the Colossus of Rhodes.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can understand the aesthetic of it, and I know that it's, you know, it set up this incredible trilogy that we're going to discover over the next few weeks. But in terms of enjoyment, it was less than Colossus of Rhodes for me.
Yeah.
But not by much. You know, I still had a good time with it. I still enjoyed it. It's hard when you've seen a film that's been done a little bit better, you know, especially when it's the same thing, to kind of hold it in the same regard, I guess.
Yeah. I feel like if you watch this movie again in a couple of years,
after not watching it back to back,
yeah,
I would appreciate it a lot more.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, for sure.
Do like a trilogy watch one day, all in a day. That's
the dream.
And I did rate it 4.5. You would be right.
Yeah.
You win.
Yay, what do I win?
We get to watch For a Few Dollars More next week.
My favorite kind of prize.
Yeah, I was like, because I rated Colossus of Rhodes 4.5 just because I enjoyed watching it so much. I would say that I actually enjoyed Colossus of Rhodes a little more than this. which is kind of surprising. But I mean, I still rated this 4.5 because I did enjoy it a lot, and then also just was very impressed by the editing and the camera work and everything. Like, I think that took it up for me a lot.
Yeah.
And that stuff only gets better and better as these movies go on. So
yeah, and I'm excited. I mean, it's by no means like a dud. You know, I
Yeah,
would still
exactly.
happily watch it again. Yeah. So do you want to try the ranking?
yes, yeah,
So what we've decided to do is, because we are kind of spending a lot of time talking about our letterbox and stuff like that, is treat this series a little bit like a letterbox list, where after each of the Leone films that we watch, we're going to rank them.
yes,
And obviously last week it would have been useless to do this because we'd only seen the first film. So it would have been like, where's it going to go? I don't know.
yeah.
But now we've actually got two. So we're going to do the definitive Film Church Radio ranking. And this is a little bit more, I would say, aesthetic, not into like a little bit more kind of filmmaking wise in terms of our personal feelings.
Yeah.
Is this a better film than Colossus of Rhodes?
Yes.
Yes, I think so too. Yeah, I think Colossus of Rhodes is very enjoyable, but I think this is the emergence of a like an auteur. You know,
Yeah,
we talked
exactly,
about this
yeah.
last week, and it could have been made by anybody. It was a
Like
fun
Colossus
yarn,
of Rhodes.
Yeah, could have. It was a studio that
Yeah.
needed like a studio film that needed a director. Where this feels more. It feels a lot more personal.
Yeah, just as a filmmaker, I would say you should, if I'm going to say movies that you have to watch,
Yeah.
and need to study. Fistful of Dollars, yes. Colossus of Rhodes, no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But then just as a film curator, there's times where I could recommend Colossus of Rhodes in a
Yeah, of
certain
course.
situation, you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it depends what mood I'm in. I think that if I wanted to watch them all three, like obviously this would be the pick. If I wanted to just watch a few, kill a few hours and have a lot of fun, I would definitely go for Colossus of Rhodes.
Yeah.
But I do think that in terms of filmmaking, this is the better film.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
The ranking begins.
A Fistful of Dollars 1, Colossus of Rhodes 2. I don't think this list is going to surprise anybody, honestly.
No, yeah.
It's just, we're going to end and it's going to be like, yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Of course. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the show. Of course, you can find us again on all the social media platforms at Film Church Radio, or you can follow us individually on our Letterboxd. Mine is at Selman Scope, and Lewis is at Walker Lewis 3007. There you can keep up with what we've been watching. We have a film diary, so you can see what we've been watching this week and what we've been rating things. Of course, we also have all of our back episodes streaming on all good podcast platforms. You can leave us a rating and review. Let us know if you like the film, and you can also let us know what you want us to be watching, what we might pick for next week's episode. Again, thanks everybody for listening. And Lewis, I've got those 3 coffins ready for you.
My mistake. 4 coffins.
Got them coming. Just give me a couple hours. All right, folks. That's all. Or that's all, folks. I said it backwards.
Amen.
Amen.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.